Because I thought it was going to be a proper conference where you sat down at a massive table and just talked about what the curriculum was, but we've actually been doing stuff.
Just had a flash of inspiration. Here goes the staff room and laminate some cards. Yes, lamination, my friends. It's the future of education.
Consulting with young people isn't quite like consulting with adults. With adults, you can sit them down and you can have a focus group and you can ask a series of very direct questions. With young people, there's always a danger that they're going to tell you what they think you want to hear. Also, there's the concern of theirs about peer pressure. What we wanted to do is wanted to take them away from the school environment and to give them lots of different experiences and listen to them during these workshops. Some young people do respond really well to direct questioning, but others need to have it drawn out of them, find new ways of expressing themselves, which is what we try to do with the QCA at the window in Islington. If we only ever listened to the young people who put their hands up in class, then there'd be 3/4 of the class who never got a say, who never got a look in. And it's those 3/4 of the class who we were really interested in giving a voice and helping them to articulate what it was they wanted in the new curriculum.
So we divided into different groups and each group took a subject. We had costumes as a starting point and each core subject dressed up in a costume. So we had a costume for maths, for English, for PE, MFL, science. After that we looked at why maths looked as it did, why English had 3 hats, why the costumes had been put on as they had.
So most of the way they dressed the subjects was quite negative, so we talked about that and found that each of them was slightly more three-dimensional than this first portrait. MFL was confusing and pointless, but in fact it wasn't pointless because the young learners, when talking about it, knew that it would be helpful and it would be great to have another language, but what they missed was being taught in a more relevant way. So then I asked them all to become a bit more involved with the costume, to make it a more human subject creature which would move. The creature had to have something in the movement that captured the feelings of the young learners towards this subject. English had a really steady, bit of a regular movement, but then it exploded every 4 or 5 steps into complete riot. Science moved like a huge elephant. Maths had a really taut, tight head, but this ungainly, chaotic body that completely collapsed at the end. PE just turned into a scene. Something that came out was that at least 3 of the subjects shared a continuous, a pedestrian rhythm, which occasionally burst into something different, but then went back to the plodding. We talked about all of this after lunch, and we turned to the question of why the creatures moved like this. What made learning pedestrian? Science particularly seemed to bore students when they just had to copy from the board or use textbooks. Experiments were the things that really got them going, particularly ones with impressive results. One student said what they wanted was more bangs. There was a similar feeling around MFL. They didn't feel there was enough variety. There was too much teaching from the board. English, although perhaps one of the more popular subjects, still wanted to have more variety. They suggested more role play, also peer teaching, and teaching in different environments.
So then we moved on to heavenly creatures, and this was when the students were able to make their subjects, so how they wanted maths to look, what shape it would be, how much space it would take up, whether it had bits sticking out of it. They could use bamboo, string, brown paper, anything they could get their hands on.
English was really colourful. It demanded more teaching of grammar. It was shaped like a blackboard or a flip chart, which revealed more colourful layers underneath. MFL was a fantastic aeroplane which could be flown. They got inside it and used it. And MFL could let you fly. Freedom was written all over in different languages. It was really wonderful. Maths was a surreal teacher. It had lots of arms to help struggling pupils.
What else?
Well, I go around and if I don't get it, I tell them a joke, and then they sort of understand it.
So you're a comedian.
There was a boy that hid under a table and others who looked really bored.
So throughout education, people are starting to realise just how important it is to give pupils a say in how they're being taught. And the QCA's woken up to this need, and they're including pupils' voice in their work. And this event in ensuring that pupils are not just consulted, but can actively participate in the development of how and what they're taught.
Dr. Jessica? Hello, Dr. Jessica. I didn't know you were coming today. I mean, I heard the reviews and I heard the story, but...
It was actually really fun, and I'd do this rather than any school day.
Hell of a lot better than the school day. Hell of a lot better than what I thought.